Today we are looking at the interior of the 2025 Jeep Wagoneer L Series 3. How practical and luxurious is the inside of the Wagoneer? Let's go ahead and find out. The Series 3 model is higher in the Wagoneer lineup, and it does come at a price of $90,000, so I am expecting a lot from the Wagoneer's interior in terms of luxury. Starting with the door panel, you will find soft touch plastic on the upper part as well as some open portal trim. There is 2-person memory seating, and all of your switchgear is going to be finished in matte black plastic. There is leather padding for your armrest and a ton of storage space at the bottom. The power running boards make it very easy to get inside, and taking a look at the seats, they are going to be made of real Napa leather. There are stitching details as well as heating, ventilation, and 12 ways of power adjustments. These seats are quite comfortable, but if you want massaging and 24 ways of adjustments, get the Grand Wagoneer. Now let's check out the rest of the Jeep Wagoneer L's interior. Starting with the steering wheel, it is going to be very nicely leather wrapped and heated. It is pretty thick overall, especially here at the bottom, and there's some nice open portal trim. This steering wheel has a 2-spoke design, and because Wagoneer is kind of a sub-brand of Jeep, there is Wagoneer badging in the middle instead of Jeep badging. On the Grand Wagoneer, this would be finished in leather, and these buttons would be finished in gloss black. These buttons are for your gauge cluster, and these buttons are for your cruise control. These buttons right here are so that you can shift manually through the 10-speed automatic. These are pretty unresponsive overall and would probably be used only for towing. The gauge cluster is fully digital and has plenty of customization. You can use these buttons over here to customize what is being shown on the gauges. You can change the overall layout of the gauges and switch from miles per hour to kilometers per hour just by clicking the OK button. That is very convenient and very nice. You can also look at your driver assistance tech, your oil life, your trip information, a full screen map, which is always nice to see in a gauge cluster, your off-road pages because this is after all a Jeep, and a bunch of other odds and ends. I like to keep it on this because it is pretty traditional and very simple. As far as materials are concerned, you won't be blown away in this Wagoneer L. Even though the Series 3 model is pretty close to the top in terms of the trim level lineup, they did have to cut some costs to save some sales for the Grand Wagoneer. On the upper dash, you will find some soft touch plastic, open portal trim, a lot of gloss black through here, which is not the best idea because kids will probably get this scratched up very quickly, and there's some more open portal trim. Along the side of the center console is going to be some leatherette, which is also stitched. Storage in the Wagoneer will definitely impress you. Under this piece of gloss black, you will find a wireless phone charging pad, 6 USB ports, a little felt-lined area, and a 12-volt outlets. On the Grand Wagoneer, this will be a screen, and you can push a button right here to make it flip up for some storage. Under this piece of wood trim, you will find 2 cup holders, a little phone slot, and a great place to put your key fob. By the way, this is what it looks like, very high quality feeling Wagoneer branding on the back, and on the front, you can lower the air suspension and remote start the vehicle. The center console is going to have some leatherette trim and open portal trim. You can pull this back for some felt line storage as well as 2 USB ports. And when you lift it up, you will find an enormous portion of storage. There are no USB ports, but it is felt lined, and on the Grand Wagoneer, you can actually make this a cool box. As you can see, you should have no issues with storage in the Jeep Wagoneer. As far as climate controls go, the Wagoneer L has fully physical buttons and toggles. I mentioned earlier that the Grand Wagoneer L has a screen right there, that would be dedicated to your climate controls. Thankfully, both models have a row of physical buttons. Since this Wagoneer shares climate controls with the Grand Wagoneer, these feel very high quality. You can adjust your temperature with these toggles right here, adjust your fan speed right here, and there is dual zone up front and 1 zone in the rear. You can also bring up the comfort menu in case you want to do things a little bit quicker, like adjust your fan speed from 1 all the way up to 7, and you can also control the rear climate with the screen right here. Your heated and ventilated seat controls are going to be located right here. You can adjust what zone these heated and ventilated seats affect, which is always nice to see, and there are 3 stages of steering wheel heating. Now let's check out the main infotainment system. The Wagoneer L has the latest Uconnect 5 system from Stellantis. There is plenty of customization here on the home page, so you can just add your own widgets, such as the navigation or what is playing on the radio. There are also some off-road things like pitch and roll and the suspension because this is a Jeep after all. There is also built-in navigation as well as wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can also do multiple different vehicle controls. So you can look at the camera systems. You can fold down the second row headrest. So as you can see, that works quite well to improve your visibility. There's also a blind spot camera. So when I turn on the turn signal, that is going to pop up right here. That is very useful because this is a very large vehicle, and even though these mirrors are large, you might not be able to see everything. One difference that this has versus the Grand Wagoneer is take a look at these bezels. They are pretty significant. On the Grand Wagoneer, it would go all the way out to about here, so just keep that in mind if you would like a larger screen. Let's go ahead and take a look at the camera system. So you got a real metal shifter down here, go all the way to the right for drive, go to the second notch for reverse, and that will bring up a pretty high resolution backup camera. There are multiple different angles, including a wide rear view, a wide front view, a normal front view, and just a back view. I like to have the 360 view. There is also active trajectory if you haven't noticed. And let's go ahead and see how the parking sensors work. So I'm going to pull up to my tripod, and they should make a noise if they are working properly. So right as it gets close to it, you will see a little graphic on the display as well as the 360 view. It is actually very loud, so it will definitely get your attention. I would say that the parking sensors work pretty well in the Wagoneer L. If you need to bring up the cameras quickly, just go to Vehicle, Controls, and then you can take a look at your cameras right there. To put it in park, just go all the way to the left. Down in this area, I want to mention a few of the controls. So you do have an auto parking system on this Wagoneer L. That is always a nice feature to see, especially on a large SUV like this one. There are your air suspension controls, your drive mode selector, you can turn on your auto start stop, and the rest of these controls are pretty self-explanatory. Up top, you'll find an auto dimming rear view mirror, a little sunglasses holder, and a large panoramic sunroof. Now let's see about the passenger side on this Jeep Wagoneer. The door panel is pretty much the same as the driver's side. There's plenty of storage space at the bottom and wood trim at the top. The seats are made of the same Napa leather, and they have heating, ventilation, and 12 ways of power adjustments. These are very plush and very comfortable. On the dash, you will find some soft touch plastic and some open portal wood trim. You can get a screen here on the Grand Wagoneer. In the glove box, you will find a felt-lined one, but surprisingly, it is pretty small. It can barely fit the owner's manual, so just keep that in mind. The owner's manual is shared with the Grand Wagoneer, so it is very premium feeling, and you will also find your heated and ventilated seat controls. You do also have the power to turn off the screen. The second row is very important in a family car like this Wagoneer L, so let's go ahead and check it out. On the door panel, you will find a ton of storage space at the bottom, leather on your armrest, and some wood trim. You also get sunshades, which is a feature missing from the Tahoe and Expedition. The seats are made of the same Napa leather, and they are pretty comfortable. They are heated as standard equipment, and you can also get a bench seat for a total of 8 passengers. Getting in is very easy with the power running boards and this handle. In the back of the Wagoneer L, I have a crazy amount of legroom and headroom. There is a good-sized seatback pocket, and the back of the seat is going to be finished in leather. The B-pillar mounted vents are very nice for some extra airflow, and taking a look in the middle, you will find some vents, your third zone climate control, and your heated seat controls. Under that, you will find a cubby and multiple power sources. There are so many ways to charge a device in this vehicle, it is insane. At the bottom, you will find another cubby, as well as 2 cup holders and a phone holder. On the back of each seat are some entertainment screens. This is an extra option and costs $3,000. Unfortunately, they are not touchscreen and have to be controlled with its remotes. You do get Amazon Fire TV built in, as well as access to multiple streaming services. You also get a headphone jack, a USB-C port, and an HDMI port built into each screen. These entertainment systems are pretty nice, even though they aren't the latest technology. It is very clear, however, that Jeep made an effort to keep second-row passengers comfortable and entertained. Let's go ahead and check out the third row next. Accessing the third row is very simple. Just push this button and the seat will slide forward. You can actually keep a car seat in place while doing so, which is very nice. In case you forgot to fold up the third row seats, you can just push these buttons right here and they will go right up. In the third row of the Wagoneer L, I have an insane amount of legroom and headroom. I can stretch out my leg in the middle, and the thigh support is also great. As far as amenities go, you will find a plastic armrest, a cup holder, some cubbies, USB ports, and you can also recline the seats with these buttons right here. That is a feature not available in the Tahoe and Yukon. With the L model, you get this massive window to look out of, and most vehicles' middle seats are very uncomfortable, but that is definitely not the case in the Wagoneer L. Another nice touch is the sunroof at the top. The Wagoneer L's third row is actually amazing. You can easily fit 3 full-size adults comfortably in this car, and they would have no problem at all. Let's go ahead and take a look at the trunk next. The rear seats are very important, but the trunk is equally as important to carry around all of your family stuff. There are multiple ways to open the trunk. You can use the key fob like I just did, or you can also use the standard hands-free power tailgates. Behind the third row, you will find 42.1 cubic feet of space. You will also find multiple tie-down points, a power outlet, and you can also power fold down the third row. With the third row folded, you will find 85.3 cubic feet of space, and as maximum, you will find 130.9. The space figure behind the third row is class fleeting, but all of those numbers are insane. If you need more space as a maximum, go ahead and swing for the Suburban or Yukon XL. The regular Wagoneer already has an amazing amount of space at 117 as a maximum, but if you need the most space for your big family, go ahead and get this Wagoneer L. Under the floor, you will find some extra storage space, and you can power fold up the third row seats, but you will have to do the second row manually. To close the trunk, just push this button.